This video is brought to you by
Cool green clothing coming straight up out of that DMV. You know what it is. This that Baltimore designer right here. Come on now, come and show some love and show some support. Go online right now, coolgreenclothing.com, and make your purchase. Oh yeah, by the way, if you ain't cool and getting the green, you're in the way, and that's just basic.
What's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Let's get right into the story. Open air drug market. Some people might not know what that means. In most inner cities all over the world, whatever your vice is, I'm sure you can find it. That means there's multiple places, people in that city with the same product or different product for you to choose from. All you got to do is pull up on a block or in a neighborhood, and most of the time, the dope boys gonna peep, see what type time you on, and start calling out what they are selling to see if you are interested. It's convenient. Sometimes you don't even have to get out your car, but it gets tricky if it's people in the same area with the same product. For instance, you have a block that sells smack. They might have all $20 bags, but the next block over got the same product for $10. It can turn to beef over sales, or the clientele starts to pull their own moves. If a person gets high and likes and prefers the quality of the $20 bags, they might cop around that block to the point they are a regular. So one day they come, they are dope sick. Somebody on the block might get them a few bags on the arm, but they don't have no money. It's an IOU. That individual runs across $20 the next morning. More than likely, they will go to cop two $10 bags on the other block instead of paying what they owe on the debt, because they got to get out the gate. And once word get out they did that, it can lead to trouble. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we will be discussing a case of a debt that led to a fatal home invasion. Back in 2016, a woman had a home on the 600 block of East Patapsco Avenue in Brooklyn, South Baltimore. She would often host parties or get-togethers with friends in which most of them were addicts and got high. So did she. So her house will often be referred to as the party house. Everybody would hang out, trade product, and do what they did. That's a pretty common thing. As the lady of the house, we will call Miss Ann, was spending money in the area, but things would change when she started buying extra product from other areas to sell to the company she had coming over. It wasn't anything major, just enough for her to make a couple dollars and stay high for free. So all the trappers in the neighborhood paid it no mind. She wasn't in the way. But one day on July 9th, 2016, Miss Ann had a few people over early that morning around 6 a.m. They had been partying all night and doing product. In total, it was 4 people, including a 49-year-old man named William Johnson. But William had already ran a tab with somebody in the area and owed them some money. As word got around, William was at Miss Ann's house copping. 2 men decided they would go and collect on what he owed. They were at the time 28-year-old Frank Barnett and 26-year-old Carrington Sturgis. The 2 men went to the house to confront William. They knocked on the door. When Miss Ann cracked it to see who it was, they busted in. Frank had a gun and told William, "Pay us our money." But the man had spent everything already. They got mad and started beating on William and pistol whipping him. Before seconds later, shots went off and everyone panicked. BPD were called to the home. When they arrived, they found William laying on the living room floor, suffering from a gunshot wound. He was unfortunately pronounced gone on the scene. As detectives talked to Miss Ann, she admitted they were all getting high. She stated she knew who the 2 men were that came to collect the debt because she had met both of them 2 months earlier through a mutual friend. She gave them the name of Frank and Carrington. but told police at first Frank had the gun, but he was just demanding money, until the other man grabbed the weapon and shot William. The two other people that were at the home told detectives they didn't see anything because they were scared, high, and kept their heads down in their laps so they wouldn't witness anything and become the next victim. But one would claim one of the men demanded a ride after the shooting to flee the scene. They drove him not too far from the area, let him out, and then pulled over and called police. No fingerprints, evidence, or DNA was found at the house. Using only Ms. Ann's words, police first located and arrested Frank a week later, charging him with first and second degree murder, transport of a handgun on person, possession of a firearm, and conspiracy to commit a hit. Days later, Carrington was arrested on the same charges. Over the next few months, it was debated by prosecutors was the evidence against the men strong enough, because Ms. Ann admitted to running a drug house, and she only knew the men for a few months. But as the case made its way to trial, Ms. Ann took the stand to play back what happened that day, sticking to the same story she originally told police. Her demeanor was a little different though, because since that day, she had gotten clean off of drugs, but not alone. The state attorney's office had paid over $18,000 to put her in treatment, pay for shelter, and help Ms. Ann out. Lawyers argued this made her and the state's case not credible, as Ms. Ann had something to gain out the situation, and she herself admitted at the time of the murder she stayed high all the time and could only remember bits and pieces. During her testimony, Ms. Ann stated the state didn't make her point the men out. She knew enough to know they were the ones who ran up in her home that day. She also stated the state helped her, but after a minute to get her own sobriety, she came out of pocket herself from her SSI check to pay for it. The other witnesses from that day took the stand as well, but their stories was all the same. They were high and didn't look at the men. The murder charges against Frank were dropped, leaving him only fighting the 2 gun charges and conspiracy. A jury found him guilty and he will receive 18 years, with Ms. Ann pointing to Carrington as the trigger man. He would get the brunt of the punishment, being found guilty of all charges, including first degree hit. He will receive life plus 51 years in prison. Both men attorneys still felt like they were being railroaded. There wasn't any evidence, and Ms. Ann reaped benefits and had convictions herself, including lying to police. But the sentences stuck. Rest in peace to William. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to his family. I'm sure whatever amount of money he owed wasn't worth his life. 18 years in prison, and definitely not worth life plus 50. Carrington had just beat a drug charge like a year prior for having a bunch of prescription pills in the car. Then to come home and catch a body is crazy. I understand his principles when it comes to the streets. They could have just beat on William like Frank started to do. But the thing about scrapping up, going to somebody's house to confront them, that's a life sentence just waiting to happen. Even if it was a few $100s, which I doubt. There was a lot of other ways to handle that. I'm sure William would have came back around a cop from somebody else. They could have just took his money. But the street cred and pride, letting people know we not the ones to play with, has a lot of men gone or in prison forever. But hey, that's the Baltimore way. Man, crazy story. Rest in peace that man. I ain't gonna talk y'all head off with this one. Y'all heard the situation. Leave it in the comments. Definitely be respectful. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Y'all already know it's all love, fam. This is another episode of the Baltimore Way. It's your boy Tony 2 times. I'm out.